All right, so today we are joined by our wonderful guest, Ashley McLeroy. Did I pronounce that right?
Close.
McLeroy? Was
yes. It? McLeroy.
McLeroy. Okay.
It's no biggie.
Well, I want to say it correctly so that we all know who we're talking about here. And Ashley is the director of Alabama's Assistive Technology Act program. She's a rehabilitation engineer with the Alabama Department of Rehabilitation Services, assistive technology specialist, and disability advocate. And so today she's going to share with us some information about the new statewide accessing potential through assistive technology program. So very excited to hear this information. Before we begin though, if you are joining us, well, I mean, obviously you're all joining us, but if you're joining us for the first time, we do like to keep attendance through the chat function. So if you guys would just type in your email address into the chat, so that way I know that you took attendance, and then I can send you the post-survey chat or survey form, just to kind of give us a good idea of whether this program is helpful to you, and if you want more things like this, just to get your feedback so that we can improve our program as much as we possibly can. So without further ado, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Ashley and take it away.
Thank you. Thank you. Before I get started, is everyone in this group from the Huntsville area, or is it a little further reaching? Do we know? I think everybody. Oh, I see somebody from Birmingham. Okay. Got it. That helps. The chat. Okay. All right. I'm going to share my screen. Make sure I'm on. Okay. So I am Ashley McLeroy. As Jenny said, I am with our Alabama Assistive Technology Act program. We are a program of the Alabama Department of Rehabilitation Services. So if you are familiar with our state agency that provides services to Alabamians with disabilities, we are a small program of that, and we're federally funded through the 21st Century Assistive Technology Act. And through that act, we do provide certain services that are available to Alabamians statewide. And we're going to get more into these different types of services, which is the lending library and doing product demonstrations, our reuse centers, but also in addition to that, our goal is to increase the capacity of our state to provide assistive technology services. So we also connect with organizations and provide training to teach them more about assistive technology, whether it's school systems or organizations like employment organizations that have a lot of employees, and their HR department needs to learn more about assistive technology. And then we can also provide what's called technical assistance to these organizations. So if they are wanting to improve their ability to provide assistive technology services, then our team can actually go out and help them figure out what needs to happen to best provide services. And then also we want to be a resource to everyone in the state on assistive technology. So if you want to just reach out to us, if you have questions about specific types of assistive technology or resources that are out there, then you can contact us directly, and hopefully we'll get an answer for you. Sometimes we have to research it ourselves, but we want to be a resource for you. Okay. I want to tell you about our assistive technology lending library. My Zoom controls are in the way. But one of the main things that we're working on building is providing an assistive technology lending library. And that will be a service where we have stuff, we have devices, and anybody in the state can borrow those devices to try out for free. And so the idea of it, or the purpose of it, of being able to borrow our devices, would be for decision making. That's the big one. We want to make sure that you're not spending money on devices that aren't going to work for you. So to get the most out of your funding, you are able to borrow our devices, try it before you buy it. This is very helpful to school systems because sometimes they have to have some pretty strong justification to purchase devices, especially those more expensive devices, before they start seeking funding. They really want to justify and make sure that devices work, so they can borrow it from our library and try it out, as well as individuals. Let's say that someone is not sure if their mom would use an Alexa show where she could video call her family to improve mental health and connection and activities related to healthcare. They could actually, the family could borrow our Echo show and try it out and see if mom likes it before the family actually pulls their money together and purchases that. It can also serve as a temporary accommodation. So if there is a situation, maybe there is a volunteer opportunity, a volunteer job opportunity, and someone is going to be working at a veterinary clinic for a month. They can, if they need assistive technology that we have, they could borrow it from our library for a temporary accommodation. Or maybe someone broke their arm and they now have a temporary limitation and they need accommodation until their arm heals well enough to use a standard keyboard and mouse. Until that time, they could borrow one of our adaptive devices to access their computer. Also, if somebody is using if they have a device that was purchased for them and it goes out and it needs to be repaired, or maybe the funding has been sought after and you're waiting for your funding source to approve for a device to get purchased. Those are two other situations where somebody could borrow our devices temporarily to serve in that interim. And then if somebody just wants to learn more about assistive technology, like I said, our goal is to increase the capacity of our state to provide assistive technology services. And part of that is making sure people know more about the devices. And so if somebody just wants to learn more, especially as it relates to professional development, they're able to borrow our devices to actually have a hands-on opportunity with that technology and learn more about it. So in the last year, we have added about 200 items to our inventory. We've been working on more funding so that we can add more devices. On this slide, you see our very electric sit-stand desk. So that goes on top of a desk, and it has buttons that you can raise and lower it. So everybody loves the new concept. Over the last couple of years, especially since the pandemic, everybody has loved the idea of sit-to-stand desks. And so this is a converter option that can be borrowed from our library. Also pictured is the Clear Sun therapy lamp. So this is a favorite. It's almost always checked out. We have one right now. We need to add some more because everybody loves this device. It mimics daylight, and sunlight is proven to improve mood and increase energy. And so the idea is that you would set this in your environment, and the daylight that it is mimicking will help boost your mood and increase energy. And then on the bottom, there's a photo of a chin mouse. So this is typically mounted to a desk. And so an individual who has no other ability to access a standard mouse or a keyboard can actually use their chin to move a joystick around, and that'll move their cursor. And then there are two buttons on the side that they can click. So these are just a couple of examples. I'll show you a few more in a little bit. One of the things I want to make sure you know is in order to borrow from us, you would go to our website. It always is going to get me with the connection security. Okay, so if you go to al.atforall.com, this is where our inventory is listed. And you will go to item list. Now we have several organizations that are using this, our website, our inventory website, to house their inventory as well. So when you select item list, I want to make sure that you go to APTAT, and that's how you will find what we have available for loan. And you'll be able to scroll through our list and see the items that we have. So here we have Ableware. These are the handles that you can attach to utensils, make it easier for someone who's not able to grasp small objects, and so to feed themselves independently. We have these cool general purpose gripping aids that you can attach to bars or weights or like a shovel or rake. So we have all kinds of different products in our lending library, and we will be continuously updating this through the end of the year as we add more products. We do like to take suggestions. So if you have an idea of things that you realize over the years it would have been nice to be able to have access to try it with somebody that you know that needs it, please email us and give us a suggestion on things you'd like to see in our library, because we would like to, as we start spending down the funding that we just acquired, we would like to start adding things that we know the community wants. So feel free to send us some suggestions. Okay, so demonstrations is another activity that we can provide through our federal funding. And that involves not just letting somebody borrow our devices, but actually providing them with our expertise and having them in our space to try out multiple devices and compare and contrast the features. And so you're not just borrowing it and taking it home and trying to figure out how it works, but you're coming in and you're spending time with us, and we're talking through all the different features and the different types of products that might benefit that individual. So we are very close to opening up our demonstration center in the Department of Rehab Services office down in Homewood. And we're just waiting on some upgrades that the building is doing right now. And then we'll be able to set that up as a demo center where people can schedule appointments with us to come in and see the technology that we have. We do want to expand and have demo sites available across the state, but we will be needing to look for partners in other parts of the state because currently we only have 2 staff. And so we are housed in Birmingham, and that would be difficult for us to manage across the state. But if you do know some organizations that you think would be great to partner with to have demo sites across the state, please let us know. We're new, guys. So we've done a lot of work over the last year, but we have accomplished a lot, but we still have a long road to go. One of the things that has been consistent for many years through this funding are the reutilization centers. And we're very proud that individuals can go acquire durable medical equipment at no cost. So we have 5 centers located across the state. We have Waste Not through Christmas Charities in Huntsville. We have Remedy in Birmingham. We have the Care Project through Easter Seals in Montgomery. We have the Real Project through Wiregrass Rehabilitation in Dothan. And then we have the We Share Project through Goodwill Gulf Coast in Mobile. The majority of these centers, the way they operate is anybody can donate durable medical equipment to them, and then they clean it up, they repair it, and then they put it back out into their facilities, and it's free for anyone to come pick up. So most of these centers you would call to see if they have what you need. Their inventory is based on what donations they've received, but they're going to have wheelchairs, walkers, bath chairs, toilet risers, canes, crutches. And we don't want people to have to spend money on those things if they don't need to. So if they only get a limited amount of funding for durable medical equipment, I would highly suggest they contact the reuse centers first to see if they have what you need, and then you can spend that funding on something else that you need. Or I like to use the example that, let's say you have someone that is a family member that is going to be visiting your home, and you would like to have a backup piece of equipment at your home for them so they don't have to try to transport their wheelchair or their walker. You could go get that equipment from our reuse centers. It's no charge. And the majority of them, you will call and find out what they need. But in Mobile, all of the Goodwill Gulf Coast centers should have, 10 of them, I don't know how many there are total, but 10 of the stores, the Goodwill stores, have We Share sections with all the durable medical equipment. And you can just go into that store, pick up the equipment that you need, take it to the register, and they're not going to charge you anything for it. So this is something that we're quite proud of. We want everyone to know, so please share about these resources. Okay, so I wanted to give you some more information or some more brainstorming examples of what we have in our lending library, because sometimes it's hard for people to conceptualize what assistive technology is and what I mean by that. And so we consider assistive technology to be any kind of device that allows someone to achieve a desired task. So if they need a tool of some sort to be able to complete a task, we want to consider that as assistive technology. And so, thinking about computers, even, that was something that was new to us a couple of decades ago. But that is a very valuable piece of assistive technology when it helps somebody with a disability complete a task. And a lot of devices have things built in. Our good old iPhones have a lot of accessibility features built in. And if you're not familiar with those, then you could get in touch with us at our program, and we can help walk you through what kinds of assistive technology is available on the devices you already own. So some of the communication examples that we currently have added to our library are single message recordable buttons. And so if you have someone that struggles with communication, then this is a recordable button that you can record a voice message into, and they're able to hit the button and it'll say that message. So it could be, I'm hungry, or I need to go to the bathroom, or it could be set up at a switchboard if you have a switchboard operator who is not able to communicate. And then it could say, welcome to our organization. I will get someone to assist you. And it could be a message that's used in a vocation setting as well. We also have a recordable communication device called the GoTalk. We will be adding many varieties of these. This is typically a good stepping stone for communication because it has just, a static display, and you can change out the messages, but you're recording it with your voice. And so it's something that the user can be familiar with. And then we can move up into the dynamic display devices. And we were just able to acquire this app called Speak Pros, where you can have pre-recorded messages in the app. And what's cool about the Speak Pros app is it also can detect your eye movements. So in that image, you'll see the two little eyeballs, and that's because that app is designed to use eye gaze to target the device. So if you have somebody that cannot target it with their hands, then they could target it with their eyes. But we would want to make sure that when you're dealing with communication, if you're going to borrow these devices, if you reach out to us, we're going to make sure that someone is involved that's helping with speech therapy or some sort of service to make sure you're not going to be in the dark trying to figure this stuff out on your own as well. We do have some cool reading and writing tools. One of the devices that everybody loves to borrow, we're not super big fans of it, but there's a reason that it's in our library. It's called the C Pen Reader. It's this orange pen that you see on the right side of the screen. We're not super big fans of it because it's very limited in what it can actually help with. The idea is that you scan across printed text, and then the pen will read out loud to you what that text said. Everybody thinks it's going to be a major game changer. The reason we have it in our library is because we want people to try it and see, does it actually fit our needs before we go spend $200+ on it. The majority of the time it comes back and it did not fit that person's need. However, there are situations where it does, and that's if you're going to be scanning limited amounts of text. But there are other things out there that we could tell you about that probably could benefit the individual better if we were able to try it out with that person. The Discover Talking Pen is one that is really cool. It's something that we just added. It was actually designed for parents to read books to their children. And you use these little stickers that's in the photo next to it. So the little talking pen looks like a little astronaut dude. And you use these stickers and you put them on the object that you would like to record sound to. And so the individual could record on the pen. It's associated with that sticker. And then when the user goes and taps their pen on that play button, they'll hear back that recorded audio. So this was designed for parents to read books, but we can use it as assistive technology because a lot of times people need those auditory prompts to be able to complete tasks. So if they need reminders on how to do things, then we could put these little stickers next to an object that they're working on a task with, and they'll be able to hear auditory input. Sometimes being able to read the text is difficult. So if they actually hear somebody's voice that they're familiar with, they can process the information better. So we think this pen is really cool. And then this guided hands device in the photo at the bottom, that's a new device that we added. And what it does is support someone's hand if they have upper mobility limitations. And so if they're not able to lift their forearm or control their wrist or hand, or maybe having to lift their hand causes a lot of tremors, and so resting it gives them the ability and stability to write. And then you attach the utensil to the device, and then it has these rails that you can move around, and you can write, you can draw, you can access the keyboard, you can even paint with it. And so there's a lot of cool things you can do with that guided hands device. We do have some alternative note-taking options. So this is not just important for students. I always like for people to have options for assistive technology for note-taking, even if they have trouble remembering what the cell phone store said, how the cell phone store said to operate their device. We all have trouble remembering what was said at the doctor's office. And so these types of tools can help in all sorts of activities of daily living. The first one is the low-tech option, is called the Rocketbook. It's a reusable notebook, which I love because as people add more and more notebooks to their stash, they have trouble finding things. But what's cool about the Rocketbook is you write on it, you snap a picture, and then that digitizes your handwritten notes. And so it's a lot easier to find your notes in a digitized format when you can just scroll through your phone, rather than it all getting shoved down in the bottom of a backpack or a bag, or you moved your notebook and you don't know where it is. You've secured your notes, and then you wipe the page clean and you can reuse it. So it makes it where there's less to keep up with. We also have a couple of options, including the Moleskin and the Livescribe, where you write in it and then it automatically sends a copy of your notes to a device. So in the upper right corner, you'll see the Moleskin has an app associated with it, and that's syncing live. As you're writing, it's transferring automatically to that device. And then the Livescribe pen, in addition to that, it also records. So if somebody likes to be able to just take pen and paper with them when they go places, they can handwrite with the Livescribe pen, and it's recording audio simultaneously. And then you can go back into that notebook and tap on the page, and it will play back the audio that was recorded at that exact moment. And then there's some more advanced things that can be done on an iPad or PC. This is a perfect situation for somebody to come actually do a demonstration with us and let us show you how all the things work, and then talk through all the pros and cons and the different features of the devices. We do have some technology that's specific to sensory limitations, so like vision and hearing. We have a variety of lighting options, including the OttLight or the daylight lamp that I spoke about earlier. We do have an OttLight where you can change the different types of light, and then we have smart lighting available as well. We do have some voice amplifiers. So if you're working with some individuals who have hearing difficulties and you need to be able to amplify your voice and you're not sure what kind of device would work for you, we have the more expensive option, which is the Chatterbox. Those can be $200+. And then we have a less expensive option. So you could actually borrow both of those devices and see, do you really need to purchase the more expensive option, or is the $30 option suitable for you? And then we can also walk you through some of the free apps that are available, including Ava for captioning and then Seeing AI. So you could even set up, if you're not in the Birmingham area and you're not able to get to Birmingham, you could set up a remote demonstration with us, and we could show you how those types of things work, even on a Zoom setting like this. Some daily living and recreation examples that we have. We do have tons of different kinds of utensils and gripping aids for holding utensils. We do have the OB robot feeder. That one is reserved for demonstration to, we can demonstrate to anyone, but the only people who are able to borrow it because of its cost is going to be clinicians. And so just know that if you are a clinician, that we do have an OB robot feeder available. OB will provide a loan for 30 days, or actually, no, sorry, they provide a loan for 5 days. We can provide a loan to a clinician for 30 days. So if they have multiple clients scheduled that they would like to try it with, they could borrow it from our library. And then also we could set up demonstrations with local nutritionists and things like that if somebody in the area is interested, or somebody in the general public is interested in, like Huntsville, learning more about the OB robot. We could get with that nutritionist up there to provide a demonstration. We do have some environmental control things. As I spoke about before, we have an echo show. And so if you just are not sure if it's worth the investment, if a family member is actually going to use it, is it going to have the features? Is it going to do the things you want it to do? You can borrow it from our library. And then we just had a smart solution set up, installed, where it's a full system with environmental control devices and actually a software that goes on your computer to be able to control everything with in one screen. So it's really nice. And then we do have some switch adapted toys. If you know some kids that could benefit from having access to switch adapted toys, then we have those available as well. Computer access, boy, we could just go all day on the different types of computer access that we have available, but we do have alternative keyboards. The one in the photo on the upper left is a dyslexia keyboard, and so it's very hard to tell, but the font on that keyboard is actually called dyslexia font, and it is designed to help people with dyslexia be able to ground and read the letters a little bit easier, and then it's color coded as well. We have a couple of different types of other keyboards. The one that's super unique is the one on the upper right, and that is called the Tap Strap. And if you have somebody who's one-handed, that could make the motion of keyboarding, but maybe has difficulty moving around the keyboard to keyboard one-handed, then it detects the way that you're tapping the table, and that will key just like a keyboard. It's really cool. But it does have a learning curve, so that is something that you would want to borrow for an extended length of time to make sure that you know how to use it. And then we do have other one-handed keyboards as well. And alternative mice, we have joystick options, like the one that's pictured in the bottom left. That's called a B-Joy, and that has switches built in. So if you have somebody with super limited dexterity, then they can use the joystick and then reach over and tap those switches to click their keys. We have some head options. So we have the glass house that's pictured in the bottom right, and that's a wearable device. And if an individual can click with their mouth, then they're able to access their whole computer. So if they can move their head around and then bite down to click, they would be able to access their computer. And then I also have a software, like on this laptop that I'm using right now, we have a software that does something very similar, except it requires no external hardware, and we could provide a demonstration of that as well. And then the chin mouse that you saw earlier. So I want to make sure that you know how to contact us, because I asked you to contact us a lot. And so the best way to reach the two staff that we have is by emailing aptat@rehab.alabama.gov. So that's aptat@rehab.alabama.gov. So if you have any suggestions or questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. You'll get a response from either me or Jessica McKay, who is our AT specialist, and she is our education guru. Then you can also follow us on social media. As we're going to be adding more devices to our lending library, we are posting about those on social media. So it's going to be LinkedIn and Facebook, where you will find our post about what's available in our lending library, and then events that we're participating in as well. We also do webinars monthly, and so we are posting announcements about those webinars on social media, and then you can find recordings of our webinars on YouTube. So if you'll just search for Accessing Potential through Assistive Technology on any of those, you'll be able to find more information from us. And then I can share this PowerPoint if y'all would like through Jenny. And are there any questions?
Thank you so much for that information, Ashley. I was really blown away about all that is available. I had no idea how just involved a lot of these technologies are. And I really appreciate you taking the time to present this information to us. So yeah, like Ashley said, if anybody has any questions, we have plenty of time. So just go ahead and unmute, ask your question, or type it in the chat, whatever works best for you. And yeah, take this opportunity now while you have it.
Yeah, that's the thing. It can get really overwhelming to know what's out there, but that's our job, is to stay on top of what's out there and to be that go-to person of figuring out how it's used. And so we don't want anybody to get overwhelmed. It can get quite overwhelming, but we would like to be that resource for you guys.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, to get something from your lending library, will we need an ID or something, or how we let you know we are eligible?
Okay, so when you go to that al.at for all website, you'll create an account, and that'll give us the information about you. And if you're looking at one of our devices that says it's restricted to a certain type of individual, like clinicians or things like that, then you would put in your message when you request it, what the purpose of your device loan is, and that helps us out. But when you go to that website, let me go back to that. When you go to this website and you're finding the items that you want to borrow, once you're logged in, you've created an account, you'll add it to your cart. And when you go to your cart, it'll give you the option to check out, follow all the prompts to check out, and then it sends us a message. And so from that point, what we do is we contact you and find out the purpose of your loan, and kind of consult with you to make sure that you're going to have the resources you need once you borrow it. And then we coordinate how to get it to you as well. So we don't have strong eligibility terms because we don't want to limit it too much. We want everyone in the state to have access to it. So we don't check for disability verification or anything like that. We do just want to make sure that before we send it out to you, that you have the resources that you need to actually use the device. So we'll have that conversation when we get your notification that you've requested items. Does that make sense? It's a good non-answer.
Yes.
Yeah, and Ashley, I think that lending library is such a fantastic idea because, like you said, it might look good in the advertisement, but it may not be suitable for your needs, and your loved one may not be able to actually utilize the device. And so the lending library, I think, it's such a simple, smart answer, and I think it's wonderful. But it seems like it just makes a world of difference.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We know that a lot of people, not just with disabilities, but a lot of people, if they only have $50 to spend, we don't want you spending it on the wrong device. And so, for example, that C-pen that scans text, and everybody thinks it's just going to solve all the issues. It's $200 and something. And yes, we do see that it can fit in certain situations, but we could also maybe tell you about an app that's free. So if the person has a smartphone, and they can have the ability to take a picture of text, then we could give you some suggestions on free options. So then you can spend your $50 on something else. And so we don't want anybody to waste their money on the wrong technology, because then it also creates discouragement. And we want everyone to be encouraged to use technology and what's out there. And it just keeps growing. So we have more and more and more options every day of what we could use as AT.
Yes. I think this is a very compassionate program. It's a very loving program, and I'm really, really happy that you came to share this information with us today.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
Of course. Any other questions before we end?
Can you tell us a little bit more about the demonstrations, like when you come, you said something at the beginning, when you come to us and do demonstrations, is that specific, like a specific software or hardware, or would you bring like a variety of things? The reason I'm asking is I have multiple disabilities, physical, mental health, and developmental. I have a child who has multiple disabilities, and I work for a clinic that's multidisciplinary. It has like an OT, SLP, talk therapist. So we try to work with lots of different varieties of people. And so we don't really know what questions or what things we would need until we sort of see demonstrations and are able to like say, okay, oh, that would work in my life in this way. So could you tell me a little bit more about what that would look like, or would we need to schedule an appointment to come to you?
So with the demonstrations, the idea is that you are presenting a particular need. So you could say, I need to know more about technology that helps me feed myself independently. And so then when you come and you schedule an appointment with us, you come to our demonstration center, you'll sit down with us and we'll show you the devices that we have available that can help somebody feed independently. Or if we don't have it available, we might contact a vendor to see if they could come out and join the demonstration and coordinate with us to provide a more thorough demonstration. Or we may find some resources online for you to also look into. And we could target multiple needs in the same appointment. So if you have needs for self-feeding, and then you also have a need for note-taking or studying, or any other kind of options, we could schedule multiple in the same visit. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But it would be more of an individual person making the appointment. It wouldn't be like our clinic would make to learn about certain things.
So that's actually two separate things. So the way the federal guidelines are with demonstration, that is for us to help an individual decide what type of technology works for them. And so that individual comes with their support team if necessary or desired, and then we walk through, and hopefully by the end of that demonstration, that one person is able to decide what route they want to go. If you're interested in your clinic team learning more about assistive technology, then we would consider that a training. And so we can be scheduled to come out. So demonstrations right now, you have to come to us. But trainings, we can come out to the organization. So if you wanted to schedule for us to come out to your organization and provide training on what types of assistive technology, then you would just reach out to us and let us know what topics you want us to discuss, and maybe certain types of assistive technology that y'all would like to learn more about, and we can provide training for everybody.
Okay. I think part of my question is, what if we don't know, like if we know the population we work with and what their needs are, but we don't know what technology is even out there?
Right.
How would we go about that?
let us know what population you're working with, and then we'll look at what we have and what we
Okay.
know about, and we'll tailor that training based on your population. So for instance, like when the Alabama Head Injury Foundation contacts me to do training, then I tailor my trainings to what is going to benefit somebody more with a head injury rather than the full scope of assistive technology, because it is too broad. And we can also always schedule multiple trainings for an organization. So if we want to focus on communication one time, education another, and vocation on another training, we could do that as well.
Okay.
Good
Great.
question.
Thank you.
And Ashley, you said that if someone was wanting to schedule either a training or a demonstration with you, they contact you through the website or email?
Email is going to be the
Okay.
best. That way you'll get a response from one of us quicker.
Okay.
So we're out on the road a lot. So if you'll email aptat@rehab.alabama.gov, that's the quickest way to get a response.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I do think you said that if they're not local to your area, you could possibly do a Zoom demonstration
Yes.
with them? Okay.
Yes.
So you don't have to be her neighbor to get a demonstration. You can do a Zoom one just like we're doing today.
And if it's something that needs to be demonstrated in person, we're going to try to coordinate. We're expanding this particular service. And so we would try to coordinate with somebody maybe in a different part of the state if it has to be in person, because we don't want to limit somebody's ability to see that demonstration.
Wonderful. Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments that you guys want to ask Ashley before we end today? And I know, Ashley, you did mention of possibly sharing your PowerPoint. So if there's anybody interested in that, just indicate that in the chat and I'll be able to hook you up with Ashley's PowerPoint. All right, well, thank you again, Ashley. I really appreciate your time and your information. I feel very enlightened now, knowing that what we have available to us. And yeah, I got a couple people already saying they went to PowerPoint. So if you just want to, we can connect on that in a little while. So thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you for putting your the attendance in the chat for me. And if you would like to hear this information again, or if you think somebody else would like to hear it, let me know and I'll see if I can invite Ashley back again for another showing. All right, well, thank you everyone. And you have a great, great week, or else. No, I'm just kidding.
Bye.
Bye.